I'm getting to the point now where I've got a pretty solid mastering bus, or I guess mix bus, set up on Ableton at the moment. I've set this as a preset, but I wanted to kind of talk you through the different stages and different elements that I have in this bus, because as you'll see, it's pretty hefty. There's quite a lot of devices in it. So let me just sort of talk you through what is involved with this bus, and we're going to be using my song that I'm working called Beach. I'll just play you a little clip of that, so you know, got something to jam to. All right, so this chain, I'm gonna kind of talk you through what's in it and you know why we have it in this order. So the first thing we have is a utility. Now this utility I frankly barely use, but it's useful for things like testing in mono. So I'll sometimes, while listening to a track, especially a dance track like this, switch between mono and non-mono to see how that might sound on a speaker. So I'll do that right now. So what I'm listening for there is I want all the energy of like the kick and the bass to be very present in the mono signal, because when that's on a dance speaker, that needs to be really clear. And so as you can hear here, we got all that sound pretty clear and pretty available to us there. Same thing with bass mono. Sometimes if I have some, you know, something I'm working on that I need to mess around with, I might set bass mono on here just to ensure that that bass is monoed. But I know it's mono here, so I'm not even going to bother with that. And then obviously there's things like gain or whatever I might want to do here. I basically don't touch it outside of just doing mono. Then I have 3 different EQs set up, and each one of these EQs has a different goal. So this first one here is just cutting off the bottom end. So sometimes it's hard to tell if your mix is good or not because of all the sub bass involved with it. So it's nice to just cut out the sub bass and imagine this is what it sounds like on a phone or something. It sounds pretty good. And then the opposite of that is I have another one that is just the sub bass. So if I go back over here, you get to hear just the bass. And then finally, the last one that I have is kind of just the mid-range. So it's cutting out the bass and cutting out the top. So again, I can kind of hear what that might sound like on a less than ideal speaker. Right, those here out of the way. That's mostly just sort of monitoring. Then I'm going to move to a different section of the song because I'm getting bored of that. This one is just rolling off the very low ends and the very top end. Wow, that's way lower than I wanted it to be. There we go. To kind of get rid of the harsh highs and some of the really boomy lows. And then after this, I will have my glue compressor to glue together all of the subgroups and all the different instruments. I have another video specifically about why I use this and why that's useful, so check that out. Then we have a clipper that goes and kind of chops off the very top end of the sounds, so you'll see this is probably doing some quite gentle clipping. So as you can see, we're just getting rid of some of the very top bits. Don't know why this thing's in the way. Yeah, close window, go away. Then a couple other bits. We have another EQ, and now this is doing nothing except letting me look at the frequency range. So what I'm looking for is kind of the bass hitting around, maybe around here, and then the top end kind of being somewhat flat. And this track is a little different in that it's not quite like a heavy drum and bass song like I sometimes do. This has got a little bit of sound in the kind of 1K range because of those voices, but you'll see the kind of the look at the audio here. So this is already telling me I think those hi-hats need to be a bit higher because they're down here, but I kind of want it up here. All right, so next up is a limiter, and this is going to be used for limiting and increasing the gain, but I don't really use this on its own. Like, a limiter is great because it makes everything louder, but I can't tell how loud it is until I use my next two plugins. And these are the only two plugins that I have in this chain that, oh no, actually I've got Kilohertz too, but these are two of the three plugins in this chain that are not just Ableton stock plugins. So I have the Vision 4X plugin. This thing is awesome. It gives me a spectrogram of the frequency range of the song. It gives me kind of loudness of all the frequencies, and this is sort of a suggested, almost sort of pink noise curve that you can use to sort of gauge, have you got enough frequency content in different areas of the sound. This is a waveform analyzer, and this is a phase analyzer, as well as some levels. So as I play this, you'll see the song kind of be present in all of these categories. So this tells me, I've got some gaps in the high end here that kind of drop out. So maybe I want to do something to fill those in, because maybe it doesn't, why are we cutting it out so much? I don't know. Then I can see my waveform, I can see the phase relationship, and I can see where we're hitting there. And finally, in terms of volume, I have the Ulean loudness meter, the free version. So this is going to give me basically how loud is this sound. So it tells you how it peaks, etc., etc., etc. What I care about is this integrated value. For most of the songs you'll hear on Apple Music or Spotify or whatever, they're probably going to be hitting around minus 14. Oh my god, loudness something something something. Oh, what does that stand for? Completely forgotten what LUFS stand for, but someone smart will tell you what that stands for. So if I press play here, you'll see where we hit on the LUFS meter here. So we're hitting around 16.5 loudness units relative to full scale. How was I going to remember that? I'm going to remember that. Who cares? Just remember LUFS, right? It's a cooler name anyway. But so I can tell that I'm hitting about 16.5, so I want to increase the gain just a little bit. And sorry for your speakers. So if this sounds good, then it's going to sound good on Spotify, it's going to sound good and everything else. I have the free version here, but if you check out the more expensive version of this plugin, they have things like to be able to check against, Apple Music and all that other stuff that I was mentioning. But all together, that's why I was saying that the limiter really only works in tandem with this, because how I limit needs to kind of have a relationship between what the loudness is on here. So what I have found is this has been a really useful main bus for me for quite a while. I've been slowly adding to it. Maybe I'll do an update in future if I find this to be, not great, or if I find some more benefits to work on in future. But generally, I really highly recommend setting up a bus like this. It just means that you can quickly check things, quickly monitor stuff. The only other thing I might add to this, if you have it, is some sort of referencing plugin. So I don't have any plugin to reference between my current sound and a reference track. So I've got a bunch of reference tracks in here that I will usually kind of check out. I don't have a plugin to be able to compare between those two, but if you've got one of those, probably useful to chuck on your main mix as well. But with that, that's it. Have a little bit of music. Why not? As you go. Goodbye.